It is my special privilege to be here at TEDx Grand Rapids. It's less of a privilege to have been put, 13th out of 14 speakers when there's a little lag time here late in the afternoon. You know, in our earlier session, Roger Henderson came up from the audience and when asked, what was your favorite presentation today? He said all of them. Every speaker has been so good. The ideas have been just so fruitful and stimulating thought. Now, I would like to tell you that in their infinite wisdom, those who planned this picked for this penultimate spot in this lag time of the day, they picked the most motivational and high-energy packed speaker. They didn't. I'd like to tell you that I've prepared a script that will just move you because it's so clever. No, I'm a college professor, and I write in somewhat dull ways. But I'm here to talk about an important idea. And it's an idea that's going to connect with every one of us. I'm going to talk about emotional experience and how emotional experience shapes our lives, connects with our lives. Okay? Maybe I should set a context. Why this topic? How did I get so passionate about specifically the emotional experience of wonder? And it emerged in my context of 33 years of college teaching and the academic study of religion. Now, you can imagine college classrooms studying religion from an academic perspective, how intellectually charged that is, because we come across such passionate advocates of their religious faith, and we come across equally passionate detractors of any and all religious faith. And as a college professor, I make sure my students survey them all. And I think of the latter category, the detractors, two of my very favorite writers in recent years. They both happen to be evolutionary biologists. I think, for example, of Richard Dawkins at Cambridge University, who wrote The God Delusion, a scathing critique of the ideas of religion from his perspective as a scientist. A little less known is E.O. Wilson of Harvard University. E.O. Wilson has, as an evolutionary biologist, looked at religion and its human life at all over times of history and how it biologically functions for us. And he sees that the beliefs and doctrines vary so widely. And none of those beliefs and doctrines hold up to his standards of truth as a scientist. And then he says, however, the one thing that he finds that's common to religion at all times, all places, he says, religions find a way to induce their members to submit to the good of the group, to surrender their individual interests to the good of the group through threats, through rewards, through heavens and hells. Religion finds ways to get us to be good members of a group, and that is its main function in human life. Well, I've learned so much from Dawkins, and I've learned so much from Wilson, but I don't think they tell the whole story. And my idea emerged in my years as a college professor, realizing one other important thing that's common to all religions, that religions, at their best, hold us in a state of wonder. Their doctrines, their beliefs, their rituals elicit from us and hold us in this precious state of wonder. Now, I don't mean to say that religion has a monopoly on wonder. Many of us experience wonder in so many other contexts. I think of listening to beautiful music and the way when that music begins to lift us out of our everyday thoughts and feelings and lifts us for that rare moment of ecstasy, of transcendence. And we wonder, how is it that we live in a universe where we get those little peeks into infinity? Or some of us experience wonder in deep interpersonal relationships. We've gazed into the eyes of a newborn, of a best friend, of a romantic partner, and we see into that gaze not an object to be manipulated, but a very expression of life, and we wonder, how is such vitality here in our universe? Others of us experience wonder in science and in mathematics, and we suddenly and unexpectedly come upon lawful patterns and order where we least expected to find it. And we wonder, how is it that there's a universe out there with these patterns, these lawful orders, awaiting our mind to discover? And if I think in my own life, I've probably experienced wonder most while attending a planetarium, or going out and looking at the evening sky and looking at the expanse and grandeur of our universe, and realizing that those stars, I have 100 billion stars in our own galaxy. And our galaxy is but one of 100 billion galaxies in this universe. And I ask myself, What causal power is it without which there would be no universe? How is it that there is this expanse, this grandeur, rather than nothing? Wonder. Now, if we're going to keep pushing this, the dictionary, the Oxford English Dictionary, defines wonder as the emotional experience triggered by perceptions of something novel, triggered by perceptions of something unexpected. That wonder is astonishment, but an astonishment that is mingled with perplexity and bewildered curiosity. Now, I've taken that and I ask myself, what kinds of unexpected, novel perceptions? And I think that wonder is the emotion excited when we perceive something that's so intensely beautiful, or so intensely real, or so intensely true, that our minds go to wonder, how is it that such truth, such beauty, such vitality is possible in this universe? And you can see with these kinds of attributes of wonder why Socrates said that wonder is the emotion of the philosopher, and that all philosophy begins in the state of wonder. Now, Socrates said that 2,400 years ago, and we live in the 21st century, a century defined by the mapping of the human genome and where science has taken us. And whenever I want to take a complex topic, I try to bring as many disciplines to bear on it as possible. Surely the humanities, surely the social sciences, but I think the foundations are in our natural sciences. And when we begin to push our understanding of this, evolutionary scientists show us that evolution has equipped us with adapted bodies and adapted brains. And their purpose is to keep us in continuous and efficient connection with our surroundings, particularly when there are rapid changes in those surroundings. Wonder is one of these startle, surprise emotions. Now, emotions in general are such powerful motivational systems. When any one of us in this room is under the grip of an emotion, we automatically, spontaneously, immediately begin, first of all, to rearrange our priorities, our values. We go from seeking opportunity to fending off threat. The fight, the flight, the explore, our motivations are automatically recalibrated. Our attention and perception is either narrowed or broadened. Even the way we communicate. Emotions can cause us to raise our arms in jubilation. In some species, emotions cause the hair to rise on end to feign greater strength and size. Some emotion causes us to smile, others to frown, to droop our shoulders, to divert our gaze. Emotions are such profound systems. Now, when we begin to think of all the range of emotions, there is such a range. Such a great variety. We have to learn to think in terms of distinct, discrete emotional experiences. Fear, anger, disgust, joy, curiosity. It's helpful to begin all of this by dividing emotions into two broad categories: positive emotions and negative emotions. Negative emotions are emotions that arise when experience falls short of our expectations or our hopes. It frustrates us, thwarts us. Think of fear, shame, guilt, disgust. These are what I call emotions of avoidance, of distancing. They immediately get us to retract from our environment, cut off connection, protect ourselves. And perhaps it was these negative emotions that the likes of Dawkins and Wilson had in mind when they only think of religion in terms of those more defensive and less than creative aspects of human life. There are also, however, the positive emotions, emotions that occur when all of a sudden, unexpectedly, experience far surpasses our hopes and expectations. I think of joy, interest, curiosity, and of course, wonder. And these are what I call emotions of approach, of sustained engagement, where we feel this freshness and vitality for exploring the world around us. Well, psychologists can tell us a great deal about these positive emotions. An emotion like wonder, first of all, we know broadens, widens our attention and perception rather than narrows it. We also know that a positive emotion like wonder causes some self-diminishment and humility, although not submission. We know that a positive emotion like wonder is a fairly passive state. It's as though the brain has its own self-reward system, that we find it intrinsically enjoyable to contemplate. What is the metaphysical, the beyond the physical, the unseen, higher causes of the beauty and vitality and truth? Now, because it's a passive state, Wonder is a rare moment when we suspend our utilitarian striving. And for that little moment, life isn't just there to be managed and manipulated, but we enjoy it in its own right. And in this moment, empathy, other beings, other people, other parts of life, are part of our own immediate feeling, our own wider sense of concern. So that wonder, like no other emotion, is an emotion of empathy. When we put these together, we realize that a life shaped by wonder is so different than a life that's been shaped by fear, than a life that's been shaped by shame or guilt. That wonder is a precious emotion that shapes a life so differently, luring us in beyond egocentricity to greater empathy, mobilizing our curiosity, our openness to experience, nourishing our reverence for life. And it's for these reasons that 1 year ago, the Sir John Templeton Foundation put out a challenge to scientists worldwide. Can we take this rare, sublime, slippery emotion of wonder and advance our understanding and bring more scientific knowledge to bear on how a life shaped by wonder is unique and sets us apart from other species that don't have this gift and from individuals who aren't privileged enough to frequently have this emotion? I teamed up with 2 experimental psychologists at Bradley University in Illinois, where I teach, and we put together a research protocol where we bring research subjects into an auditorium-like setting and show them a powerful video with scenes of natural beauty trailing into scenes from the Hubble telescope showing the grandeur of our universe and leading, of course, to the great question: how is it that such a universe is possible? And the immediate moment that they have finished seeing this video and are still under this immediate feeling state, they flip over a questionnaire where we have questions that can calibrate the degree of curiosity, openness to experience, and empathy they're feeling at that moment. And our results are impressive. Compared to our control group, we are finding indeed that in this rare, subtle state of wonder, these measures of empathy, curiosity, openness to experience go soaring. Now, to me, there are some important points to this. As we here today at TEDx Grand Rapids and we think about Innovate, how do we innovate our lives through the experience of wonder? We all seek freshness. We all seek vitality. And maybe it's here in wonder that we can best keep that going in our lives. But many of us here are also educators, or we're entrusted with the development either of co-workers or of the young, be it in church youth groups, in school settings, in summer camps, park districts. And all of us want to nurture that freshness, that vitality, that open curiosity and exploration, and empathy and a reverence for that wider sphere. Now, many of us have throughout our lives and ourselves the victim, I guess, of people who try to accomplish those tasks by appealing to the negative emotions of the shame, the guilt, the fear, and teaching an ethics of obedience to authority. I think that what I'm learning and what I'm trying to advance in my current research is that in most cases, we should appeal instead to the positive emotions. And that if we can help others, individuals, to put themselves in situations where moments of the feeling state of wonder are available to them, by taking them to the planetarium, taking them to the evening sky, involving them in art and in music and in mathematics and science, but always alert, not just to discovery, but to asking the big questions that have no bounds. To be beckoned forth by the kind of question that maybe can't ever be literally defined and codified, but nonetheless is intrinsically enjoyable to contemplate. I would like to finish my talk tonight by taking you to a quotation. Rachel Carson was an environmental scientist who 50 years ago this year wrote a book titled Silent Spring to alert us to the dangers of pesticide. And in late life, she said, what brought her to her career in science were her child emotions of wonder. And in late life, she wrote a book, and it was her last publication, A Sense of Wonder. And I'd like to just read this. A child's world is fresh and new and beautiful, and it's full of wonder and excitement. It is our misfortune that for most of us, that clear-eyed vision that true instinct for what is beautiful and awe-inspiring, it is dimmed and even lost before we reach adulthood. And she writes, if I had influence with a good fairy who's supposed to preside over the christening of all children, I should ask that her gift to each child in the world be a sense of wonder, so indestructible that it would last throughout life. Thank you.